Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras. And before we begin, we want to again remind you that for more of the best content from Israel, sign up today for our streaming platform, ILTV+. Now, coming up in today's newscast, loose lips sink ships. Heavy criticism over Israeli leaders divulging a little too much about the nation's defense activities. Meantime, in response to growing backlash, several Israeli companies and importers postponing their scheduled price hikes. And finally, some of the oldest human remains ever found outside of Africa discovered here in Israel, just south of the Sea of Galilee. Our top story tonight, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz closing out an historic visit to the Kingdom of Bahrain on Thursday, and Gantz arriving to the Arab Gulf island nation for this previously unannounced 24-hour trip to sign a landmark memorandum of understanding and to participate in a massive international naval exercise. A number of historic events announced this week from Bahrain. Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz landing unannounced to the public in Manama on Wednesday to sign the first memorandum of understanding with the Gulf country since the signing of the Abraham Accords in 2020. And among the agreements in the MOU, the two countries allowing for, quote, increased cooperation in various fields, including a number of arms agreements and other defense-related sales. Then additionally, aside from being the first visit for Gantz to Bahrain and the second Israeli governmental visit to the kingdom since normalization, Israel also participating for the first time ever in the United States-led IMX-22 naval exercise, which includes some 60 other countries, some of whom, like Saudi Arabia and Oman, have no diplomatic ties with Israel. The participants in the exercise focusing on unmanned naval systems and the use of AI to counter threats like those posed by Iran and Iran's various terror proxies. This, and to form a unified command structure capable of ensuring freedom of movement and commerce across the high seas. And Bahrain, for its part, hosting the exercise as the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet HQ, as well as some of its CENTCOM operations, are stationed in the Arab Gulf island nation.
בשנה האחרונה, בין השאר בזכות הסכמי אברהם והמעבר של ישראל לסנטקום, שיתוף הפעולה בין צה"ל לבין הצי החמישי הולך ומתהדק, וכך גם בין מערכות הביטחון. זהו צורך ביטחוני אסטרטגי ראשון במעלה מול אתגרים הולכים וגוברים בזירה הימית בפרט ובאזור בכלל.
Meantime, adding to the symbolism, Gantz and the Israeli delegation flying over Saudi Arabian airspace and arriving on an Israeli Air Force Ram tanker aircraft, the very same craft used by the Egyptian Air Force in 1977 to carry then Egyptian President Anwar Sadat to Israel to begin the peace process, and Israel buying the craft from a civilian company in 2011.
העובדה שאנחנו יכולים לנחות פה עם מטוס של חיל האוויר ולבקר עם מפקד זרוע הים הישראלי בצי החמישי ולדבר באופן גלוי על נושאי הגנה מהותיים לביטחון האזור היא ציון דרך משמעותי.
Finally, the naval exercise set to end February 17, while Gantz set to conclude his 24-hour trip and return to Israel Thursday night. Now, speaking of defense, Israeli ministers unveiling major details from recent military activities, including announcements in the coming laser defense wall and efforts to support the Lebanese army. Some analysts are arguing, however, that perhaps we're divulging a bit too much. Joining me with more is Israeli journalist and veteran security affairs commentator for Ynet, Ron Ben-Ishai. Ron, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much. Now, actually, before we get to our main topic, though, we've actually seen reports from the White House that the United States forces have assassinated the head of ISIS in Syria. Could you give us a few words on this operation?
Based on a success of ISIS in a raid on a prison in Syria, where members of ISIS are detained by the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces, mostly Kurdish forces that operate east of the Euphrates.
To watch full episodes of ILTV's Israel Daily and tons of other content from Israel, visit our website at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app.